Stephanie White didn't just guide a team. She helped ignite a phenomenon. Under her leadership, the Indiana Fever became the heartbeat of WNBA conversation, not only for their on-court performance, but for their staggering digital dominance. The new report by STN Digital and Zoom Analytics lays it out in cold numbers. $55 million in social media value, an unprecedented leap fueled almost entirely by Caitlin Clark's magnetic presence.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Even after the season ended, content featuring Clark continued to draw billions of views, showcasing that fan investment extends far beyond the scoreboard. For White, this isn't coincidence. It's validation that the modern game is as much about cultural resonance as competition. What this signifies for the WNBA is profound. The Fever's data doesn't just highlight success. It exposes a paradigm shift. The gap between the Fever and the rest of the league mirrors a larger truth. Growth now flows through individuality. Clark's ability to command attention and convert engagement into real-world business value has redefined what it means to be a franchise cornerstone. For the league, it's a wake-up call that the future of expansion, sponsorship, and fan loyalty will depend less on equal representation and more on amplifying stars who naturally command the spotlight. Caitlin Clark just became a $55 million headline, and she did it without even stepping on the court. The numbers are in, and they're not just big. They're jaw-dropping. A new report from STN Digital and Zoom Analytics revealed that the Indiana Fever's social media presence is now valued at $55 million, driven almost entirely by the attention surrounding Caitlin Clark. The next closest team? The Dallas Wings, sitting at just over $8.6 million. That gap isn't small. It's the kind of chasm that redefines how we talk about influence, engagement, and value in professional sports. And let's be clear, this isn't theoretical. This is cold, hard data. Billions of impressions, millions of interactions, all stemming from Clark-centric content. Even after her season ended, the buzz didn't fade. The Fever kept the content rolling, the fans stayed locked in, and the numbers soared. It's undeniable proof that one player can transform not just a franchise, but the business model of an entire league. The WNBA has spent years trying to grow evenly, pushing for balanced visibility across all its teams. But this report cuts right through that ideal. Equal opportunity doesn't equal equal impact. Clark's presence didn't just elevate the Fever. It distorted the league's engagement landscape. In a league where most teams struggle to gain traction, she's pulling in media value that rivals what brands would pay for high-profile national campaigns. And she's doing it organically. This isn't about buying ads or paid partnerships. This is organic fan engagement, driven by genuine interest. Fans aren't just following. They're reacting, sharing, reposting, and building an online ecosystem around her every move. And that kind of sustained attention, that's not luck. That's influence. So when we talk about the Fever's $55 million valuation, we're talking about what brands would have to spend to get the same amount of reach and engagement that the team is already getting for free just by having Clark on the roster. That's a staggering metric. It turns likes, comments, and shares into literal dollars. And it puts the Fever in a position of power when negotiating sponsorships and partnerships. But this isn't just about Indiana cashing in. This is a league-wide wake-up call. Because here's what the numbers also make clear. The WNBA is not growing evenly. Far from it. The gap between the Fever and the Wings, between $55 million and $8.6 million, isn't just a difference in fan base. It's a reflection of what happens when a team embraces a star, builds around her, and lets the content fly. It's what happens when a player has that rare ability to drive engagement on a scale the league has never seen before. And it proves a bigger point. Winning on the court doesn't guarantee winning online. Take the Las Vegas Aces. Reigning champions, talented roster, proven track record, but they're third in social media value. That's not a knock on their game. It's a reality check about what drives engagement in today's landscape. Championships are great, but they don't automatically create fan connection. People want personality. They want narrative. They want someone to follow. That someone is Caitlin Clark. She doesn't just show up to play. She brings a story, a vibe, a level of relatability and magnetism that keeps people coming back. And the Fever capitalized on it in a way that should be studied by every team in the league. While others let the offseason go quiet, Indiana stayed active. They kept Clark in the spotlight, and in doing so, they didn't just retain engagement, they grew it. The result? A social media valuation that's more than 6 times the next best team. And here's what makes it even more significant. This isn't just vanity. This is real business leverage. Social media value has become one of the most powerful metrics for securing sponsorships. Brands don't just want TV spots anymore. They want reach, resonance, and relevance. They want to be part of conversations that are already happening. And Clark is the epicenter of that conversation. That changes everything. It means that Clark isn't just a player. She's a marketing asset, a walking media engine, a reason for brands to show up and spend money. And it means that the traditional metrics, wins, titles, attendance, are no longer enough to measure value. Engagement is the new currency, and Clark is out here printing it. So what does this mean for the rest of the league? It means it's time to shift strategies. The idea that all teams and players should get equal marketing attention sounds fair in theory, but in practice, it's not how fandom works. People don't follow balance sheets. They follow stars. And if the league wants to grow, it needs to stop fighting that and start embracing it. That's what this report makes crystal clear. The WNBA's growth is not coming from a broad, evenly spread fan base. It's coming from concentrated, high-intensity interest in specific players. And right now, Clark is leading that charge. It also raises serious questions about player compensation. If one rookie can drive $55 million in media value, how does the league justify its current salary structure? How do you look at that kind of impact and say, here's your modest contract, thanks for your service? It doesn't add up. And the report adds fuel to the ongoing discussion about how the WNBA compensates the players who generate the most revenue. Because Clark isn't just elevating the Fever. She's elevating the league. Every time her name trends, the WNBA trends. Every time she goes viral, so does the brand. The report even points out that teams playing against the Fever benefit from the exposure. She's a rising tide lifting all boats, but the boat she's standing on is rising faster than the rest. And that brings us to the future. If the WNBA wants to maximize this momentum, the blueprint is right in front of them. Star-centric marketing isn't just an option anymore. It's a necessity. The fans are telling the league what they want. The data is backing it up. Now it's time for the league to act accordingly. That means highlighting individual personalities, not just team brands. That means leaning into what makes players unique, compelling, and marketable. And it means giving fans a reason to stay engaged between games, between seasons, and even between highlights. The Fever proved it works. Clark proved it works. The question now is whether the rest of the league is willing to catch up. Because if they don't, the gap is only going to get wider. This report doesn't just tell a story of success. It's a warning and an opportunity wrapped into one. It says, here's what happens when you get it right. And here's how far behind you fall when you don't. The WNBA has never had a clearer roadmap for how to grow. They don't need to guess what works. They have the numbers. They have a case study. They have Caitlin Clark. If you've been watching this play out and wondering what's next, this is it. This is the inflection point. This is where the league either adapts, evolves, and scales, or keeps chasing a version of parity that doesn't match reality. The fans have already voted. The data already agrees. Now the league needs to follow through. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, hit that like button. Drop your take in the comments. Should the WNBA build its future around star power? And if you want more raw, data-driven drama from inside the world of sports and celebrity chaos, go ahead and subscribe. There's more where this came from. The conversation around Caitlin Clark is no longer just about basketball. It's about economics. It's about influence. It's about what happens when one athlete's impact is so massive, it forces an entire league to rethink how it does business. Because that's exactly what this $55 million valuation represents. a disruption. Not just a statistical outlier, but a fundamental shift in how value is created, and more importantly, where it's coming from. In a league that has historically struggled to crack mainstream media, Clark just bypassed the gatekeepers. She didn't wait for coverage. She became the coverage. And here's the kicker. This happened during her rookie season. Before she's even had time to establish herself in the league, before the Fever have had a deep playoff run, before the infrastructure around her has fully scaled, she's already outpaced every single franchise in the league in terms of media value. The Dallas Wings came in at just over $8.6 million. That's not bad, but it's not even in the same galaxy. That's not a rivalry. It's a reality check. Clark has already done for the Fever what years of league-wide branding couldn't accomplish. She's made them relevant everywhere, across platforms, across demographics, across casual fans who don't even follow the WNBA, but somehow know exactly who she is. That's not marketing. That's movement. The report makes something else painfully clear. Engagement is not evenly distributed, and the league's traditional model of shared spotlight is outdated. The Fever are winning off the court because they're doing something most teams aren't. They're feeding demand. They saw what Clark was generating and didn't try to balance it out. They didn't suppress it to make room for equal content. They turned up the volume. They leaned into her popularity, extended the content cycle beyond the season, and it paid off. In impressions, in engagement, and now, in a number the whole business world understands, dollar value. It's not just about visibility. It's about conversion. Every post, every highlight, every behind-the-scenes moment adds up to millions of dollars in brand exposure. And when that value is organic, when it's not purchased but earned, it carries more weight. It's more authentic. And that authenticity translates into deeper fan investment. The message to the rest of the league is simple: adapt or fade. Because the numbers don't lie. And they're not just impressive, they're disruptive. They flip the script on everything the WNBA thought it knew about how to grow. The idea that every team should receive equal promotional weight, that emotional investment is evenly spread across the league, that team's success automatically leads to fan engagement. All of it gets thrown out when one player's presence generates more media value than several franchises combined. The social media numbers aren't just big, they're sustained. They didn't spike during a hot streak and fade away. They've continued long past the season, which speaks to something deeper. Fans aren't just reacting to highlights. They're following a person. They're invested in Clark's story, not just her stats. And that kind of following is where real growth happens. Not in the box score, but in the connection. That's what drives merchandise. That's what drives viewership. That's what keeps sponsors coming back. Not because of performance alone, but because of relevance. The Fever didn't win a title, but they won the conversation. And the conversation drives value. That's what this report proves beyond doubt. The future of this league isn't just about who wins on the court. It's about who commands attention everywhere else. Which brings us to an uncomfortable reality. Most teams aren't even close. $55 million versus $8.6 million? That's not a competitive landscape. That's an uneven playing field. And not because the system's broken, but because the audience has made a choice. Fans are telling the league where their attention is. Now the league has to decide if it's willing to follow that lead. This report isn't just a glowing profile of Caitlin Clark. It's a mirror being held up to the league. It's saying, this is where the value is. Now what are you going to do with it? And part of that answer has to be compensation. Because if Clark is bringing in tens of millions in media value, she can't keep being paid on a scale that doesn't reflect her impact. That's not sustainable, and frankly, it's not justifiable. The numbers give her leverage. They give her a business case. And they make it nearly impossible to ignore the conversation around WNBA salaries for star players. The league can't afford to treat all players as equal when the value they bring is so dramatically different. That doesn't mean downplaying other athletes. It means being honest about the scale of impact. Clark isn't just one of many. She's an anomaly. A high-impact driver whose influence transcends her position or team record. And if the WNBA wants to retain her, attract more players like her, and build a future that isn't reliant on slow, incremental growth, It needs to start aligning its compensation and strategy with the actual numbers. Because here's the danger. If the league doesn't evolve, it risks wasting this moment. Caitlin Clark has delivered the kind of exposure most leagues dream about. And not just once, continuously. The Fever recognized it, capitalized on it, and now they have a model that should be replicated, not resisted. This is about building a sustainable growth engine around what already works. The idea that one player can be worth more than most teams? It used to be a hot take. Now it's backed by metrics, and that changes the conversation entirely. The report also raises another point: how fan behavior has changed. The WNBA isn't just a sports league anymore. It's a media product. That means every tweet, every reel, every clip is part of the business. And players like Clark, who dominate those platforms, are now as crucial to the bottom line as ticket sales or TV deals. The Fever's ongoing content strategy showed how powerful that can be. Even with no games happening, the fan engagement stayed strong. That's rare. Most teams lose traction once the season ends. But with Clark as the anchor, the content stayed sticky. And sponsors noticed that. They want to partner with consistency. They want relevance that lasts longer than a championship parade. And that brings us to the future. If the league truly wants to grow, it has to do more than embrace players like Clark. It has to build around them. That means giving them platforms, creating storylines, elevating their voices, and doing it in a way that reflects how fans actually consume sports today, not just with stats, but with personality, emotion, and engagement. The report lays out the blueprint. Now it's up to the league to follow it. This isn't about abandoning the rest of the league. It's about recognizing what drives momentum and making sure it doesn't go to waste. The WNBA has always talked about growth. Caitlin Clark just handed them the playbook to actually achieve it. There's no walking this one back. The numbers are out, the comparisons are clear, and the league's blueprint just got rewritten, whether they're ready for it or not. Caitlin Clark didn't just change the vibe in Indiana. She shattered the ceiling for what a WNBA player can represent in the digital age. The Indiana Fever, once just another team trying to carve out relevance, are now sitting on a $55 million social media empire. All roads lead back to Clark. That valuation isn't theoretical. It's not hype. It's quantifiable proof that her presence, her name, her highlights, her existence has become a marketing asset worth more than 6 times the next best team. And the wildest part? It wasn't done through a polished national ad campaign or a flashy endorsement rollout. It was done through organic, consistent, fan-fueled engagement built around one person. Meanwhile, other teams are still running on the old playbook. Spread attention evenly. Promote everyone the same. Let the game speak for itself. But the report blows all of that wide open. Because when you've got a player whose impact creates a $55 to $8.6 million spread, the only thing the game is speaking is follow the data. The Dallas Wings are doing solid work, and yet they're not even in the same economic conversation. Not because of their performance on the court, but because they don't have a Caitlin Clark. It's not about fair. It's about facts. And here's where things get uncomfortable. How does the league justify not building around players like her? How do you keep pretending that team parity matters more than public demand? When fans are showing you, with billions of impressions, who they care about, how long can you ignore that before you start losing them? You can't market a league like it's still 2005. We're not in a world where the team logo does the heavy lifting. Fans follow personalities. They invest in people. They want the storylines, the clips, the human moments. And Clark delivers all of it in spades. It's why the Fever didn't lose momentum after the season ended. They didn't fall silent. They didn't let the buzz cool down. They kept their content front and center, and it worked. The value didn't dip. The engagement didn't fade. That consistent presence doubled as free advertising. And for brands looking to partner with the WNBA, that's gold. Because here's the secret sauce. When fans are engaging without being paid to, when they're amplifying a player's presence just because they want to, that's the kind of exposure advertisers dream of. It's not just more cost-effective. It's more trustworthy. It feels real. And in the age of algorithm-driven attention, authenticity is the new currency. So when Clark's presence alone is generating more media value than teams with years of legacy behind them, it's not just a PR win. It's a financial weapon. She's become the league's biggest bargaining chip, whether it's attracting sponsorships, securing broadcast deals, or drawing in new audiences who never cared before. And the ripple effects go beyond the fever. Opposing teams get a boost just from playing her. Suddenly their games get more attention, their players get more coverage, their highlight clips get more traction. That's how you know you're looking at a generational needle mover. But that kind of influence comes with pressure and questions. How long can a league rely on Clark without adjusting the model? How can they continue to push the all teams, all players equally messaging when fans are clearly choosing favorites, and the data supports them? How do you not restructure your entire marketing approach when one player is outpacing the rest of your league by tens of millions? You can't keep operating on principle when reality is this loud. Because Clark's fame isn't abstract. It's been measured. It's been verified. The $55 million valuation isn't a guess. It's what companies would have to pay to get the kind of attention she organically commands. And for the fever, that a free pass to the front of every marketing conversation. It's also a wake-up call. If you're a team that's not creating content around your most marketable players, good luck. If you're still relying on game results to drive engagement, good luck. If you think social media value doesn't impact the bottom line, good luck. Because this report isn't just a summary. It's a directive. It says, star power drives everything now. It says, if you're not creating around your stars, you're leaving millions on the table. It says, the league's future depends on whether it's brave enough to follow the money and not just tradition. So what comes next? Ideally a shift, not just in tone, but in strategy. A full recalibration of how the league structures its growth. The proof is here. The model is clear. The fans have already made their choice. Now it's up to the league to stop resisting what's working and start amplifying it. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just earn $55 million in social media value. She earned the right to be the face of the league's future. If you're still with us, you clearly get how important this moment is. Go ahead and hit like if you're blown away by the numbers. Drop a comment. Should the WNBA lean all the way into this star-centric era? And if you want more behind-the-scenes breakdowns of sports, fame, and the chaos in between, hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what's next.